Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today it's going to be an easy one, or maybe not. I'm going to talk about makeup brushes. Okay, concealer brushes. So this one's actually my favorite one. It's from MAC. It's the 286 brush. So I mean, this one's quite rank actually, because all the color corrector that I've used on it has just basically you know, gotten it all orange and stuff. But this one's really good for concealer because it's just really natural and soft and blends very well. So this is what I use. To be honest, I use my finger as well, but on my clients I just pretty much use this. What you can also do is, if you don't want to use a brush, you can use your finger, but you can also go on to beauty blenders. So they do the mini beauty blenders that I use as well. They're a bit too dirty for me to show you guys, but that would be great, like the mini ones just for the under eyes. The other two brushes that I would actually suggest are these two for concealer as well. So this one says the Zoeva brush in 142. Concealer buffer brush, and then something that's quite similar from Bobbi Brown as well, and that one's just called a full coverage touch up. So these two are great if you have very creamy products. So anything creamy, I would probably suggest these two, and then anything sort of liquidy, wet and stuff, then obviously the other two products that I just suggested. Right, foundation brushes. So people look at these brushes and they're like, okay, which one am I supposed to use? Which ones are great? So I would probably say, myself, I used to use the 130 brush. So this is the MAC 130, and this is sort of like a stipple buffer brush. So this one's really good for anything liquid, and if you want the liquid to be sort of diffused and you want it to look very natural on the skin. So this one's really great for any liquid sort of foundation personally, or even cream, to be honest. Now this one's great if you want it to be very minimal, sort of buffed. I mean, you know, these ones are oval brushes from MAC as well. So this one's an oval 6. I use this with my Armani. I used to try it with my cream. I didn't think it blended very well. I preferred the 130 brush for the Bobbi Brown stick, but for anything really liquidy, and I wanted it to be even more natural, I really like that. I thought it blended with my skin really well, whereas this brush is too it doesn't do the job. I mean, that's too liquidy for this job, for this actually. And if you want to have proper full coverage, that's when you use the 190 brush from MAC. So it doesn't have to be MAC, it could, you know, any flat brush. It just kind of gives you a lot more sort of full coverage. And if you feel like you can see the brush strokes of any of these, you then move on to the beauty blender. So this is where you kind of set everything else, so it just looks a little bit more blended and you don't see any brush strokes basically. Or some people just use a beauty blender on its own. It really depends on coverage and the kind of foundation that you're using. If you do love the Bobbi Brown foundation stick, however, another brush, which is the Bobbi Brown sort of full coverage face brush, this one's amazing, and I think this works very well with the foundation stick. So I use them on my clients as well. Very good. So my favorite powder brushes, doesn't matter, is the MAC 129 brush. So you can buy them in the shorter version as well. So they're great to like kind of carry around and top up powder if you need to throughout the day. So they're amazing and really good travel size anyway. But I also would use the same brush to do blusher as well if you wanted to. So these are handy and they last you really long time. So 129 brush from MAC. Contour brushes. So these are my two favorite contour brushes. One is Charlotte Tilbury, it's called the Powder and Sculpt, and then this one's from Inglot, it's the 4SS. And these two are great because you can really control the amount. I would probably say the Inglot one is my favorite. I use this on my clients, but since I bought the Charlotte Tilbury one with my Charlotte Tilbury contour little powder thing, I use that, but you know, this one does the job anyway. So these are like great, and I would say anything that's sort of tapered, you know, where it just goes wide and then it goes sharp, are the best sort of brushes to do contouring, you know, powders with. If you do have liquid or cream sort of colors that you want to use for contour, you can still use the same brushes, or use this one's quite nice, it's from Inglot. and it's the 47S brush, and this one's quite nice for any cream liquidy sort of product to kind of contour. Highlighting. So I use several brushes, sorry. You can use different ones. So this one is a Sigma 1 E40. Then we've got another sort of tapered blending. They're both tapered blending anyway. This one is a MAC 224. The number has come off, sorry. This one's slightly bigger face brushes if you really love highlighting. So these are a lot more controlled highlighting, whereas those two, you know, 137 and then the Bobbi Brown Sheer Powder brush. These ones are great if you just kind of want to do like an overall glow sort of thing. Okay, eyeshadow brushes. I have quite a bunch here, but that's only to show you variety really. So I would start off with having slightly tapered blending brushes. So this one is the 221 from MAC. And then this one is actually an Inglot one, 10S. So these two are great because I use my crease color. So sort of like in the creases, I just like, you know, create something. You can even use them to blend if you have very small eyelids. These are great. I would then go onto my application brush. So this one's the 239 from MAC. So it's basically any brush that's sort of like flat, you know. Try and get them natural hair better. If they're synthetic brushes, I don't feel like they pick up a lot of product. Also, you know, talking about blending brushes again, this one's a 217, and then we've got the 224. They're both MAC as well. Again, these brushes don't have to be MAC, but I'm just giving you a variety anyway. So these ones are like thicker blending brushes. So if you look at these two compared to these two, they're obviously a bit more narrow and these are a bit wider. So they're great to do like overall like crazy blending. If you're doing like a lot of color, you're doing something major, or you want to finish off and clean up and stuff like that, then those would be like really, really great. Now moving on to these two brushes. So they're like a little bit, you know, shorter, like thicker, and these two would be for the lower lash line. So I would get it smoked up with these two. If you want a little bit more control, if you find they're a bit more dense, you can just like use these two. So just to give you the numbers, so this one is an Inglot 39P. This one is a Zoeva 226. This one is also a Zoeva brush 237, sorry. It's not focusing properly, sorry. And this one's a Inglot 13P, which I have mentioned in many of my tutorials. I do love this brush. Yeah, so these two are great because rather than doing sort of like an eyeliner, they're like amazing because they'll just get right into the lash line and you can create like a very short, sharp line just using eyeshadow. So you don't even need to do like a liquid liner and make it look too harsh. So this is just to kind of define, it's more for definition. So I definitely do use them and I think they're amazing. So this one is a Zoeva brush 322 and the other one is a MAC one 212. One brush I swear by is the 266 MAC brush, which is like a flat angled brush, but most companies, they do angled brushes, but they're never very flat and thin. So this one I like because it's literally super, super, super thin and flat, and this is great to do your eyebrows with. If you want to do eyeliners with a brush as well, this is also very, very nice. So this is definitely a brush that I would recommend for eyebrows. Now for eyeliner, one that I really like is also from MAC, and it's the 210 brush, and this one's great because again it's like super, super thin, as if you're doing it straight from, you know, like those liquid eyeliners. They already come in with like a pen. This is almost the same sort of thickness, super, super, super thin. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you found this quite useful. It can be a little bit complicated. You don't have to buy the exact same brushes that I used. It's just sort of a guideline so you kind of know what brush goes for what. So it's as simple as that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to comment below if you do want to share some feedback or whatever. And do not forget to subscribe. Thank you.